Okay, hello, we are expletives included. We're doing our Steven Universe rewatch vlogcast podcast. Today we're looking at episode 9, which is Tiger Millionaire, and episode 10, which is Steven's Lion. I'm Dan, with me is Keir.
Hello. First broadcast January 20th, 2014. Written by Raven M. Mulsey and Paul Vilko. Directed by Ian Jones Quarterly. So this episode begins with the gems returning to the temple and Pearl yelling at Amethyst about being too childish.
Too childish, and then
Specifically, the fact that she got a tiny speck of blood, or from a blood polyp, whatever that may be, on Pearl, and drenched Stephen.
yeah, it's basically just saying that Amethyst is irresponsible, I guess.
Yeah.
And in my notes I've put 6,000 years old, really.
Well, that's not established yet, but
Not yet, but I think
it probably
this is
was.
kind of like one of those things where you've got like the idea or you've got the continuity set out before you're making all of the episodes.
But yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Sort of, there is a thing that we find in another episode that, at least with Stephen, his age is very much about how he feels.
No, okay.
So maybe they do have to act young and sort of, in Amethyst's case, childish to stay young.
Hmm.
I'd like to talk about the animation for this scene.
Okay.
Specifically, a shot that sort of after this, the gems have an argument and walk out on each other. Amethyst into the temple, Pearl and Garnet out into the town. But Stephen has sort of gone to the sink to wash up, which, okay, looks more like he's going to the fridge than anything. But why would he wash up in the kitchen sink? That aside, his blood on him dries and hardens, and he falls asleep. And there's this shot of him asleep with just this sort of billowing neck chin.
I don't remember the neck chin.
It's ghastly. I guess sort of the position of the head, you wouldn't really be able to do it any other way, but it's so weird.
Hmm.
Yeah, that aside, it's just a weird character design choice.
Yeah. And I don't know, find it kind of weird as well, but if like the way that you describe it is right and their age isn't kind of, how we assume age is, their age is just how they act and
Sort of
kind of who they are, rather.
sort of
It explains why they can be thousands of years old.
yeah, and I take the idea it's sort of non-linear aging, if that makes sense.
I guess.
Sort of, you're as old as you feel.
Hmm. So even though she's had like hundreds of human lifetimes, she can still,
Be reckless,
yeah.
which is a very odd thing, sort of intellectually speaking, because that does sort of denote a complete lack of personal growth.
But then that explains why they can still be having this argument, even though they've been together for who knows how long.
Yeah, it could also sort of, in terms of interpersonal relationships, it could simply just be a role they have to play with each other they're just stuck in that because they have been doing it for so long.
Mm.
So they're sort of forced into these roles almost, and it's through Stephen that the personal growth can happen. Bringing up a point that we've sort of been picking up on throughout the series thus far. This is the first real indication of sort of how much the gems rely on Garnet in this episode.
Mm.
Because we see both Pearl and Amethyst sort of turning to her to see who's right.
And then kind of Garnet sides with Pearl.
Yeah, which
She says,
Amethyst,
you're a crystal gem, it's about time you started acting like it.
also complete disregard for Stephen in this scene.
Hmm.
But that be the joke, I guess.
Yes, because I don't know. This is like the first podcast that we've done where I haven't kind of watched the episodes directly before it. But I think Pearl is like saying, "It's like, what about Stephen? It's like this is going to be awful when it dries. We need to think about Stephen." And it's like they concentrate on Stephen, but only as part of the argument, and completely ignore Stephen.
Yeah.
And then the goo dries and he's stuck, and no one breaks him out, no one frees him. They all just huff off.
No, Garnet and Pearl literally walk right past him.
Mm.
it's a gag, and I guess it's for the hideous neck chin.
And it's because if he wasn't stuck there, then he wouldn't see Amethyst sneaking away in the middle of the night.
Well, he does sleep in that room.
Yeah, but not like, well, I think it was a good way to kind of,
Yeah, I
it's a good
mean,
way to kind of like force him into that scene, even if he's would be there anyway.
I'll give you that. Though she does run out in a cape.
Hmm.
I mean, she can transform into anything, so why does she need a cape?
To get through the house,
In case Stephen's there.
in case Stephen is there. But then the
Um,
cape doesn't work because he realizes that it's Amethyst right away.
yeah.
Hmm.
So then we cut to an abandoned warehouse where we hear Mr. Smiley, the Funland owner, announcing an underground wrestling tournament.
Yeah, actually, is it underground? Because I put in the notes underground wrestling, and it's like underground wrestling, isn't that illegal? But
No,
like everyone from town is here. You've got Mr. Smiley, who's a respectable businessman here. We've got Lars and Sadie here. We've got also in the ring one of the Frymans,
yeah, we got Ronaldo.
Ronaldo. And it's like, is this illegal? Because the way
No,
that it's being framed, it just seems like a wrestling match that they're saying it's all underground and after hours and stuff to make it seem a bit more edgy.
well, it's sort of meant to be similar to backyard wrestling, if you've heard of that.
Not really. No, but I guess that's kind of
It's sort of where people will do wrestling literally in their own backyard sometimes. It's kind of seen as a bit more out there, a bit more risky. There's a lot more. There's a lot more blood and actual violence in it. It's less professional.
but still not technically illegal.
No, no, people are willing to beat the shit out of each other. You know, then there's nothing really people can do to stop them,
Hmm.
as long as it doesn't disturb anyone else. I will say throughout all the wrestling scenes, I like Mr. Smiley's commentary.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
can't really think. I can't remember much other than like a few things that he says when Steven's in the ring. Those are the bits which stand out the most.
well, his first thing, which I think is quite nice. For those of you befuddled by athleticism, you're about to see the Purple Puma. It's good. I mean, I don't like wrestling as a sport
Mm.
or as entertainment. I don't know how you feel.
I used to watch it when I was younger, and I had. Well, this is how long ago I watched it. I had the PlayStation 1 game of wrestling. That's
Hmm.
when I was into it.
Okay. My only contact with it was when it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I'd catch like the end of it, and it's like, well, two large scary people pretending to hurt each other. Okay,
Mm.
where's Andromeda?
And also, I don't know, because I do actually know a lot of people who are quite into wrestling.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Mm.
Everyone has their hobbies, and from the trivia page of the Steven Universe wiki, there actually seems to be a lot of references in here, such as Steven's identity seems to be taken from several different wrestlers.
Hmm.
One called Tiger Mask, who was a Japanese wrestler from a manga slash anime, and also Ted $1 Million DeBlaze, who seems to be a part of his persona. But the rest of his outfit seems to be a wrestler named IRS, who was the partner to DeBlaze.
Yeah, and all of that just goes completely over my head.
This seems to be like early 90s wrestling stuff, or 80s. It goes over my head. It's just a nice little story for me.
Hmm.
And plus, Stephen does look cute as Tiger Millionaire.
He's a bit too cute to be a wrestler.
I think that's the joke of the thing. But let's get back to the first thing where Stephen is watching Amethyst be the Purple Puma, who we did see in a previous episode, remember?
Hmm.
And she's about to face off against the Loch Ness Blogster,
Which, as we said, is
Ronaldo,
Ronaldo Fryman.
in a kilt.
And a Nessie
Yeah,
headgear thing.
which I think is quite a it's a good visual gag.
Well, we said that Amethyst transforms. She becomes kind of like a big hulking brute.
Yeah,
It's just this kind of slightly chubby guy,
yeah.
possibly with a PDA. I can't remember what he says, but it just seems so pathetic. And
He says, I'm going to end your reign of terror, and then just runs at her.
and then the purple puma just kind of lays into him, and he goes down
One punch.
one punch.
Yeah, and then we go to the back as Amethyst jumps out the door and returns to normal, and then Stephen sort of puts her in a chokehold.
Well, it's interrogation techniques.
Yeah, but he's 8.
Mm. Oh, is he 8?
I don't know. That's where I kind of figure. That's how old I figure him to be.
Okay.
Who knows? He could be older than the stars.
Well, he's got to be younger than Greg.
Yes, but we don't know how old Greg is.
He could be older than the stars.
There is seriously a thing going on in the fandom right now. A theory that Greg is actually a Stone Age savage that Rose kept alive through her healing ability. They call him the Sandal Savage.
Well, no, that's ludicrous because they didn't meet until he was touring America with his music.
Maybe it was a more loose term for music, such as banging two
No,
rocks
because
together.
he was singing "Let Me Drive My Van Into Your Heart." That was the song.
I know. It's
So
just,
the internal combustion engine must have been invented.
well, this might be later in his life. Maybe he decided to get a musical career once he figured out agriculture.
No, internal combustion.
I know. It's a very
Internal combustion is the basis of their relationship.
very true. I mean, it's a silly theory that I don't subscribe to, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
It was worth mentioning, yes.
So we have Amethyst and Stephen interrogating her why she's doing the wrestling.
Oh, it's actually, I think I've got just like Stephen childlike wonder when he's just like, is this when they're at the ring and
No, this is
Purple Puma is just beating 7 shades of anything out of Fryman, or?
there's something beyond that, but yeah.
And yeah, it's just like a small kind of little animation bit that I really liked where Stephen just kind of puts his hands up to his mouth and goes, oh!
Yeah.
And then his eyes turn into stars. Like, not like gold stars, just kind of like the outlines.
Yeah, the whites of his eyes expand into stars.
And that's like a really cool thing, I think. Just like a little animation bit.
Yeah. Interesting note. Greg's eyes do the same thing.
I'm not sure if I've noticed that yet.
I'm not sure it's happened in an episode yet, but it definitely does happen.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So we have Stephen and Amethyst talking, and Amethyst is basically, she just wants freedom to go wild and be crazy.
He wants the freedom to punch people in the face.
Yeah.
And choke slam people.
Yeah. And she's sort of like, you can't understand that, Stephen. And Stephen does some wonderful impressions of Pearl and Garnet.
I love his impressions of Pearl and Garnet.
Yeah. So for Garnet,
so perfect.
For Garnet, he pushes his hair forward over his eyes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen asks to join her.
Mm-hmm.
And they create a new tag team.
And also he asks what Purple Puma's backstory is.
Yes. And it's because pumas are cool.
Pumas are cool.
This is after Stephen's given a very intricate backstory to his character, Tiger Millionaire. A rich feline industrialist from Jungle Island. Once the singular child of a wealthy tiger family, he clawed out his own destiny, making money in the coconut mines, which we all see, which is very nice.
And, yeah, pumas are cool.
Yeah, this is sort of after a quick montage of Stephen putting together his costume, which is basically an 80s businessman with a tiger nose thing.
Yeah, I liked when he was deciding what to cover his face with. I think there was like some really cool badass tiger mask, or there was the adorable little kind of tomcat nose mouth thing.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like he's actually trying to make a decision before going with the obvious choice, which was always going to be the one which he chose.
Yeah. I also like the fact he slicks back his hair with margarine.
Well, what other grease is he going to have?
True. It's just a funny little detail.
Mm.
So then we're back to the wrestling and the first tag team bout: Purple Puma and Tiger Millionaire versus Concrete Heat and Chunk Truck.
Okay, so I've got a few things down here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I think this is something which we need to say first. Basically, one of these two wrestlers put like a traffic cone on top of Purple Puma's head.
Yeah.
Actually, no. First off, Purple Puma says like, "Oh no, Steven, you just stay by the side of the ring. I'll do everything."
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I don't know, kind of goes against the whole idea of the wrestling gig, because it's like this is like Steven and Amethyst's relationship bonding type thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're supposed to be doing this together because they're both being rebellious against the authoritarian figures of Pearl and Garnet. And then Amethyst is kind of doing the same, just kind of like, "Oh no, Steven, you stay out. This is me time. This is what I'm doing."
Yeah, but he doesn't really care about the fighting. He just wants to wear the costume.
He could definitely be right, but I think he did seem a bit disappointed that he wasn't going to be in the ring.
Yeah, but once again, this is underground in air quotes wrestling, so they are actually hitting one another.
Mm.
It should also be noted that Lars and Sadie are in the audience.
Yes, I was going to say this, but there's something which we need to say about Lars, which you have to wait until first bit of Steven's interaction with the wrestling match.
Sure.
I was saying traffic cone on top of Purple Puma's head, and then Mr. Smiley basically says anything goes in underground wrestling.
Well, he also says before that, "What a gross usage of safety equipment and your tax dollars."
Which makes me think, who's the heel and who's the face? Or are they both heels?
Could be.
Could be.
I mean,
Yes.
maybe it's a heel-face team-up.
Wait, say again?
Maybe it's a heel-face team-up on with Concrete Heat and Chunk Truck.
Possibly. One's just, the working man trying to do his job. The other one's the guy who's wasting the tax money.
Maybe.
I can see that working.
Both sides of public expenditure.
Mm.
But Steven steps in to help.
He's like, "That's not fair." And Mr. Smiley is like, "Once again, folks, anything is allowed."
And then Steven's like, "It does?" And Smiley responds, "Oh, yes, it does."
And this is when he offers the bribe,
Of $1 million jungle bucks.
which totally gets the wrestler's attention.
Yeah. He sort of, Chunk Truck goes, "We could fill 1,000 potholes with that roof," as he's hit in the face with Tiger Millionaire's briefcase.
Hmm. And this is when we bring up Lars.
And Lars is into it.
Lars loves it. Steven's being an asshole.
Yeah. It should be noted that Sadie thinks that Tiger Millionaire kind of looks like Steven.
And she seems worried by this, which I suppose she should be.
Well, small child in a wrestling ring.
Hmm.
I mean,
Actually, do people not realise that Tiger Millionaire is quite young?
well, maybe he's one of those Wall Street young kids, young Turks.
Hmm.
So they get into it, and we have a montage of Amethyst and Steven winning several matches.
Yes, I've put it down as a montage of whoop-ass and subterfuge.
Yeah, my favourite one of these is Steven with a giant 80s style mobile phone.
Yes. Which he just uses to punt people over the head with.
Yeah, I think that's great props.
Mm.
And then we're at another match. Smiley brings us in with record-breaking heat tonight, folks. Could it be Tiger Millionaire has bought out our soda stand? And maybe he'll share it with his thirsty fans. And Steven just drops it all on the ground.
And then the horror.
He stamps on it with his ducky galoshes.
Galoshes.
Then Lars comes forward and asks...
Well, actually, no. Also, doesn't Steven do the whole kind of dimples in cheeks thing where you kind of put the two fingers and then you just kind of twist your hands and it's like, "Look at me, look at how cute I am."
Yeah, I think he did.
And that's... No! You're a heel. You don't get to do that kind of stuff.
But no, that means he's a shit heel.
And this is where the whole trying to use wrestling terms falls down.
Yeah, because this is sort of to the limit of my knowledge of kind of being friends with people who like wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think he's being a heel who's sort of reveling in his heelness. So Lars comes up to Stephen with a tie that he caught from one of the matches. This makes me think, does Stephen have multiples of the Tiger Millionaire outfit now?
Do you really expect him not to?
Well, I just sort of question the logic. Is Amethyst buying him these?
Yes. Actually, no. He's got millions of jungle bucks. He's probably buying them for himself.
Because people in Beach City are stupid enough to accept jungle bucks as a currency.
Yes.
That's a fair enough headcanon.
Or maybe, well, are the wrestlers getting paid for their
Probably not.
underground wrestling?
Probably not. I don't know.
Also, I think there have been other situations where it's kind of seemed like Stephen has a lot of money.
Well, or at least more than the zero he should have.
Yes.
Well, he bought the bike, the cheeseburger backpack. Presumably he buys donuts every day. I don't think he actually pays for the bits.
Actually, no, he does. No, yes, going back to Cat Fingers, he does pay for the donuts, but I'm not sure if I've seen him pay for the bits.
Yeah, so, that's an amount more than zero.
Yes. He has a decent living allowance.
More than us.
Yes.
I mean, as we've talked about before, there are theories that all of Greg's money goes to Stephen and that kind of thing. So, given the way that, say, Amethyst is, I wouldn't be surprised about her abusing that fund.
I don't know. I think that the gems are rich. I think that's probably it.
What, just piles of bullion in the basement?
Well, yeah. I mean, open a bank account when banks are first invented. Interest.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that.
Yes, it does. I've seen enough time travel films to know that that's exactly how it works.
Anyway, so we have Lars wanting Stephen to autograph this tie, and Stephen knocks the tie out of Lars's hands and says, "You couldn't afford it."
Which makes Lars sad.
Yeah.
Which kind of opened up a whole internal conflict within me. Because, Lars is a dick. This has been established.
Yep.
This is canon.
Deepest law.
It's law. And now there's this vulnerability within him. This person who he looked up to and aspired to has just kind of been a dick to him. And, well, as Lars points out, it's like he can be a dick to everyone else, but if he's a dick to Lars, then
it's personal.
It's personal. Like that's being a dick to Lars. That's one person too far.
I mean, from what I understand, there is kind of a rule that even if you're a heel, you're not a dick to your own fans. Like you might shake your fist at whoever your opponent's fans are or whatever, but not a dick to your own fans.
However, I did kind of resolve this with myself in the fact that basically after Lars does kind of go off, I don't know, was he crying or was he just upset? He goes off upset, and then Stephen is just like immediately apologetic and tries to kind of put things right, and he's sorry, and he's young, he didn't realize what he was doing, really.
Though Smiley does call him the cruelest creature on the planet.
Yes. Which is a bit harsh, but then he doesn't know any better either. And when Lars is a dick, so even though Stephen was probably a bigger dick than Lars has been so far, he was immediately apologetic. Lars has been a constant dick, and he has never been apologetic once.
True.
So that's how I've resolved it with myself, that even after all of this kind of sadness and hurt that's being inflicted upon Lars, he is still a dick.
After this, we get a fairly important scene. Well, should I just read through the transcript of it, and then we can discuss it?
Yeah.
Transition interior, Stephen's house. Amethyst. Hey, Tiger, are you ready to win our final match? Stephen. Amethyst. Am I the cruelest creature on the planet? Amethyst. Giggles. Oh, Stephen, those are just words that people use to describe how they feel about you. Stephen gives a sad look. Amethyst. Listen, Stephen, you can't let anyone make you feel like garbage. Stephen. Is that how you feel? Amethyst. I only feel how I want to feel. Walks off. That's some pretty heavy stuff for a kid's show.
Mm.
I mean, they do pick up on this later on in the show. So I'm pointing out how important this is, both for you and the audience. This is kind of the crux of Amethyst.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it, really. It's,
You've watched the episode, what, twice now?
yeah.
In both your viewings, did you catch this small scene?
Well, yeah, they do kind of draw attention to it. Just like when I'm thinking back to it, it's just like the image of Amethyst kind of looking kind of at the camera or kind of looking down and at the camera, and just kind of her face is overshadowed, and it's just kind of like Stephen in the background looking over to her, and it's kind of a powerful image, and it's kind of, well, because like Tiger Millionaire, it's got heavy stuff in it, but it is one of the lighter episodes, and it's like all fun, and it's just fun, exciting, beating people up, having a good time, and then just like left field is just Amethyst and this kind of
This intimate moment.
yeah.
Actually, a practically raw moment in terms of emotional character. The reason I sort of feel is important is, A, it brings one of the common sayings in the fandom: there are no filler episodes.
Mm.
There is something in each episode that is important. And, this is sort of a big turn, because thus far Amethyst has been a wild, crazy, happy-go-lucky character. I think this is the first time we really see that she's quite insecure.
Mm.
And I like the slow build. I mean, this doesn't really doesn't come to fruition until many, many episodes later. I mean, it's not till episode 40 that this really sees its fruition. But all up till then, we see a slow build in her character to that point. And then the community turned against her due to another episode. So we cut back to the abandoned warehouse, where the final bout is about to begin, with our tag team against dashing Danny Duba and handsome Hank Hackelschmidt.
I feel like this is probably a reference to something,
So do I.
but we don't know what.
Um,
It's just a reference to porn stashes and chiseled blokes fighting.
in underwear and booties with far too much chest hair.
Yes, the manliest of men.
Mm,
Come on, tell me that there's not. Tell me that there's something more manly than chest hair, booties, and porn stashes.
being an actual decent human being.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know where you're getting your information from, Keir.
Well, I do subscribe to several subversive magazines.
No, it's all about the booties.
Yeah.
That's the true measure of a man.
I have heard wrestling booties are incredibly comfortable.
I'd imagine they'd have to be.
I don't know. Performers will put up with a lot of painful stuff. I mean, look at ballerinas.
Well, male ballerinas, that's probably more manly, yeah.
At least more form-fitting.
Anyway, let's stop talking about manly things.
Especially form-fitting manly things.
Oh, God damn it, Keir.
Like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Oh, nothing at all.
So now we see that Lars is very adamantly against Tiger, even having a sign saying "I hate Tiger." When the match is crashed, I guess you could say, by Pearl and Garnet, just dropping from the sky.
And basically just trying to shut everything down.
Yeah, because Stephen put up promotional flyers.
Well, because, Pearl and Garnet found out, and they seem to be pretty horrified that Amethyst is using her gem powers on regular humans.
Which is fair enough. I mean...
Oh, carry on.
She could break any one of these contestants in half, easily.
But she doesn't. She just gives them a rigorous pummeling. No actual snapping.
Yeah, just internal injury. I mean, that's fine.
But also, kind of, The gems are quite famous in Beach City, it's fair to
Mm,
say.
it's weird.
Well, if someone comes up with purple skin, a bountiful chest hair with a gem in the middle of it, do you not think that people would realize?
I think that's sort of suspension of disbelief.
I was thinking, it's like, what do you know? Have you never heard of suspension of disbelief?
Your inner,
Uh,
your inner critic was going, suspension of disbelief. I imagine he kind of looks like Patton Oswalt.
mhm.
I do like how Pearl describes wrestling as a circus of violence.
No, yeah, come on. I think Amethyst. I think, well, that's the kind of place you'd find Amethyst in a circus of violence.
Not a circus of value.
No,
Crickets. Sorry, I'm replaying Bioshock. So the crowd now wants them to fight.
well, yeah, and is it not because Amethyst does actually throw the first punch and
Well, Garnet tells them to return to the temple, and Amethyst is just, I don't want to, and punches her and pushes Garnet.
mm, and then we get all the chanting and
Then they start fighting.
yeah, and this is when Stephen breaks out the power of backstories.
Yeah, but we do first see that Garnet completely outmatches Amethyst.
Yeah,
I mean, it's barely a fight.
I don't know. Amethyst does get in like one or two good hits.
That do nothing.
Mm,
You know, it'd be like me going up against anyone. They would crush me.
mm.
So,
Yeah, you can tell that Garnet isn't fighting properly.
yeah. So then we hear the Purple Puma's backstory. He was the wildest cat in the jungle, so wild that the other cats couldn't take it. So he went to look somewhere he fit in, somewhere with other people who felt misunderstood. That's why we're all here, to be wild and free, and body slam each other, and wear cool costumes, and make up nicknames, and can't we just have this? Can't we just wrestle?
And then
And then
Pearl and
Garnet
Pearl
pick
and
up on
Garnet
that.
kind of become even more heels,
Yeah, the notorious order of wrestling haters.
which surely Pearl could have. Surely she's smarter than this. Surely she could have thought of something better than.
Well, that was Garnet who came up with that, but
Ah, okay. Well, again, surely Garnet could have thought of something better than this.
I think it works. And then Lars and the rest of the crowd turns and starts supporting Tiger and Puma.
Mm. They do a heel face turn.
I believe that is the phrase.
Yes, because they go from heel to face.
And there's some turning involved.
Yes.
Then we have
And
the fakest wrestling yet.
yeah, which is just. And the audience buy it, which. I don't know, is that a commentary on wrestling or is that just a commentary on Pearl and Garnet's acting ability?
Um, I think it's a commentary on wrestling, to be honest. But I do like the fact that Amethyst uses Steven to knock out Garnet.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of cute. And then the other wrestlers help Steven claim the belt, which has been hanging from the ceiling in
Yes,
traditional,
we didn't mention this is the tag champion match.
but in traditional style, is hanging from the ceiling, I believe.
Sometimes there are different belt matches, so this would just be like a ladders match.
Uh, I always thought that was when they hit each other with ladders.
I know that in the PlayStation 1 game you could hit people with ladders, but I'm not sure if that's kosher in actual wrestling.
I
I
imagine they
think you
don't.
just need to kind of like knock the other person out, set up the ladder, climb up, and grab the belt.
Uh, I see. Maybe they should make them out of phone call, like in LARPing, and that way it'd work better.
Maybe.
Well, wrestling is basically extreme LARPing.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Maybe it says more about me than wrestling, though.
I think that's fair to say.
But So, Tiger Millionaire claims the belt, and Tiger and Puma have won the championship and saved wrestling. But then we end with Lars shedding a tear and saying, "I love you, Tiger Millionaire."
And then so he's like, I'm pretty sure that's Stephen. And Lars just doesn't believe this because Tiger Millionaire is cool and Stephen isn't cool.
Yeah, pretty much. So, what did you think of the episode?
I quite like it. It's a fun episode, but it's definitely one which makes you kind of like Amethyst more. And when I first watched it like the first two times that I watched it, I was like really no. It's a really fun, light-hearted, and it's wrestling. It's not much in it, but it's high energy and it's fun and it's people fighting.
Fair enough. Right, I'll give my thoughts on the episode. I like the episode as a whole. I do feel the end falls apart. I think the ending, when the gems come in and they wrestle, it's either too quick or just doesn't work. Before that, there's a really nice flow, there's some great montages, but maybe the fight should have been longer. Sort of the fake wrestling fight, with all of them kind of doing something, instead of the.
Yeah, I can
Instead,
agree with that. It was just like they kind of agreed that, yeah, let's let them have this, and then the next two punches knocked both of them out.
I don't even remember Pearl being knocked out.
I can, but only because she did it so flamboyantly.
I only remember the Garnet swinging Stephen thing.
Mm.
But yeah, they should have maybe given more of the episode to it, though then you would have had to cut, say, some of the last stuff, which I think would have lessened the episode.
Yeah,
So I see why they did it, but it kind of falls apart in the end, and not an episode I revisit that often. I think that sums up this episode.
yeah. I don't think I've got anything else to add.
Right,
Okay, moving on to episode 10, Stephen's Lion,
first,
which I think we can probably talk a little bit less about.
yeah, first broadcast January 27th, 2014. Directed by Ian Jones Quarterly. I don't know who wrote it. Right, so nice change of pace. The gems are in the desert.
Yeah, so this is like another kind of adventure one where they're out and doing stuff.
Out doing gem stuff.
I'm doing gem stuff. And Stephen is just, well, the gems are in the desert, and then Stephen is being a doofus.
He's acting like he thinks people are supposed to act in the desert.
Yeah, doing that thing, crawling, panting,
What?
doing all of those things which are going to make you even more tired and more thirsty.
Yeah, yeah. They're in the desert, and there's random columns and other such things in the background. Apparently, there's some kind of device running amok, building endless columns and stairs and such.
Hmm. And they can't maintain them, so they occasionally just collapse as well.
For reasons. So they hear a roaring and decide Stephen should kind of stay there in safety.
Yeah, safely alone, with none of the gems there to look after him.
Yeah.
In the desert, alone.
Yeah, where he doesn't even
Safe.
have where he doesn't even have the sense to sit in the shade.
Doesn't he?
No, he sits.
Is this where he's just like standing on top of a mound of sand
No, he leans against a pillar
in the sun?
on the sun side.
Okay.
Though before this, there is a nice bit with Garnet where he's sort of Stephen's worried and Garnet sits with him and there's a sort of like, don't worry, you'll be fine. And it's quite a sweet little exchange.
Mhm.
But and he uses sort of what she said to bolster himself when he hears growling.
Mhm.
And then we get the introduction of Lion,
Yes, lion appears.
giant pink lion.
And I'm this is kind of well, no, it's not really explained. It's just more questions are raised later in the episode. But this lion is pink.
Yep.
That's not a usual color for lions,
Nope.
even in this universe.
Yep.
So automatically, there's something strange in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but Stephen doesn't care. It's a lion. He's gonna pet it.
Yes.
Yeah. Stephen sort of clambers all over the lion, talking to him. He just constantly talking to him about how he always wanted an animal friend, but he thought he'd be a goldfish or a dinosaur. He sort of says, but I guess fate had other plans for Stephen Universe. And the lion puts his paw over Stephen. He whispers, and his best friend lion. Which is just adorable.
That could have been the cute things.
Yeah.
Has he made this at this point? Does he make the lion talk yet? Because he does kind of just make the lion talk, and it's like I can't remember what kind of stuff does he say.
Well, the gems return with this thing they call the desert glass, which is a gem on a pillow. And they're like, whoa, what is that? Get their weapons out. And Steve's like, no, he's fine, he's totally tame. I taught him to talk. And moving lines like, I love you.
I love you, Stephen. And then I think Amethyst is like, I love you too, lion.
Yeah. Which, I think that's just her playing along with Stephen. But
I'm not sure. I think that sounded genuine.
who knows? Amethyst is a bit weird this episode.
Mm.
So, the gems say he can't keep lying, and Stephen has a tearful goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And Amethyst being repeatedly told she needs to contain the pillow.
And she's like, yeah, I'll do it later.
Yep. Cut to back at the house where they're in a pillow fort,
Mm-hmm.
topped with the desert glass.
Hey, if you've got a pillow of ancient power, then I'm not sure where the idea comes from, but it seems perfectly logical that it would be like the crowning pièce de la résistance of a pillow fort.
I'm guessing that would be their logic too.
Yeah.
And it's here we find out the gems don't actually need to sleep. But Amethyst likes to.
And I don't know, does it say that gems don't sleep or they don't have to? Because I'm wondering if she's sleeping or if she's just lounging around with her eyes closed, not doing anything.
They don't need to.
So she could technically be sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's sort of just kind of cute that, yeah, they made a pillow fort, fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Ancient evil on top, but they fell asleep.
Well, it's not. It might not be evil. It's just, well, kind of maybe broken a bit, or
Kind of insane.
who knows? Maybe something else happens with the pillow fort. I mean, with the pillow glass.
Yeah, as we'll see in a moment. But then lions come,
Yep.
and Stephen thinks he came all this way to see little old me. Exact line.
Mm-hmm. Make the lion say yes, or
Lion doesn't talk.
okay.
And Stephen's constantly talking to Lion.
And it just kind of he kind of expects the lion to know everything,
To be his best friend.
to be his best friend. And it's like, I'm gonna throw the ball now, and then you're gonna bring it back to me. And he just expects lion to do the things,
Yeah.
which I don't know. Just struck me as a bit odd.
Well, he's kind of doing all the things you'd expect an animal friend to do.
Mm.
Not that I've ever managed to get any of my animal friends to play fetch, but they're very lazy.
Mm.
And as we've discussed before, this sequence goes on way too long.
Yes, especially the sequence where he wants the lion to,
Catch him because he's falling.
yeah, just too long.
Yeah, I don't like those kind of jokes. And this one wasn't funny to begin with.
Mm.
So then he goes off to show off his lion to people in town.
He goes to, yeah, what was it? Fish stew pizza?
Yeah, where we're introduced to some new characters. Kofi and Kiki of the pizza family.
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo is there, as is Onion.
And was it just those two? And then, yeah, because I think there are like three main people: Kofi, Ronaldo, and Onion. Yeah.
Mm.
He's like, he basically orders a pizza for himself and for Lion, and he kind of like says, like, "Yeah, I got a pink lion."
He also initially says, I'm ordering for two, and Ronaldo automatically thinks Steven's pregnant.
Well, that's what people mean when they say they're eating for two.
Not 8-year-old boys.
Ronaldo doesn't know that. He's
Ronaldo,
only 18 to 20.
18 to 21. And he says he has a pink line outside. Everyone rushes out and just, Steven's lying again.
Yeah.
And,
Well, actually, Ronaldo doesn't think that straight away. Ronaldo thinks that the lion is invisible. It's like, it's pink and invisible?
and Onion is filled with unimaginable rage.
Yeah, Onion's creepy in this one. The only thing I can say is that it's a good job that he didn't have his harpoon gun with him.
Or his baseball bat.
Yeah, I can see damage being done.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
but also on the note of Ronaldo thinking that Steven's lion was pink and invisible,
yeah.
am I the only one reminded by the invisible pink unicorn?
No, that is actually a listed piece of possible reference.
Possible reference. I'll take that.
Well, why don't you explain it for the folks at home? Or can't.
Um, it's basically an argument for to try to explain a unfalsifiable hypothesis or an unfalsifiable theory. So I can say that there's an invisible pink unicorn, and I know that it exists because true believers know that the pink invisible unicorn exists, and it doesn't matter that it's invisible. I can still know that it's pink because, I have faith. It's kind of a less, well, it's kind of the same argument as the celestial teapot, Bertrand Russell's celestial teapot, which I think is a much better kind of way of going about the whole argument. But yes, the invisible pink unicorn is just a kind of a way to kind of say that these arguments are a bit silly, and here's why.
Okay, well, that's a good way of putting it.
I might be butchering it slightly, but
Well, we're not an informational podcast.
no, we're not. Don't come to us for information.
Unless you're willing to pay, then do.
In which case, we're experts on anything.
Yep.
Even wrestling.
Sometimes. Only when we're wearing our wrestling booties, though.
They are fabulous.
Mm. So Stephen returns home and finds Onion is at the doors again.
Wait, he returns home an onion?
Sorry, Lion.
Lion.
Yeah,
Okay.
if Onion was there, he'd be burning the place down.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember this. Did I blank this memory out?
Of the celestial horror that is Onion.
Yes. I mean, that would be the only logical explanation.
No, Lion is at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen complains about having to eat a whole pizza by himself.
He had to save face.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't complain about that, but
It was a very fishy and large pizza. I think that's going to be quite difficult.
I don't know. I love anchovies, so
Anyway, so yes,
so
Stephen finds out that the lion really came back for the gem, the
desert
yes,
class.
say
Um,
again,
the desert class.
desert glass. That's what it was called.
And it's here we first see Lion's magic roar, which knocks over the pillow fort and Amethyst,
Hmm.
who just responds by, "Keep it down, Stephen."
Obviously, Stephen. Yep.
Well, he is a gem.
Hmm.
Maybe he has hitherto unknown gem powers. And this is probably the stupidest bit of the episode.
Yeah.
Stephen takes the pillow and throws it on the beach because he's mad at Lion.
Coming back for the pillow and not for Stephen.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, as soon as he does it, he's like, "Oh, I need to
Yeah.
fix this now."
I don't know. It's. Would you say that it's forced that he just kind of threw it outside onto the sand? Because everyone does stupid things, and I think it's quite a natural response to do something stupid and then immediately think, "Oh shit, I did something stupid." So I don't think it's like that big a leap for this. I don't know. I don't think it's over the top silly.
It's not, but it's sort of. Stephen had a number of options here.
Yes, yes, he did.
I mean, he could have, woken Amethyst and demanded she bowled it right there. I think
I
that's
don't
what
know. That doesn't seem very Stephen to me.
true, and I can't imagine Amethyst would oblige. He was very asleep.
Hmm.
But anyway, so the desert glass erects several structures, and the gems rush out. And sort of ask, Amethyst, why didn't you get rid of it earlier? And Amethyst has a great line. Welcome to Shrug City, P. Yeah.
Doesn't she also say that she just forgot?
Yeah, I think she does later say, in my defense, I forgot.
But she was told multiple times.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
And it's not that she forgot. She wanted to keep it because it was cool and it was her bounty.
she fell asleep.
And she fell asleep.
Yeah. But then we have enter the action portion of this episode,
Hmm.
where Stephen runs into the dust storm to get the pillow, and falling from a great height, he's caught by Lion. So it turns out all he needed to do to get Lion to catch him from falling was not be an annoying shit.
Yep, that's the lesson. If you want people to save you, then don't
Don't.
be annoying. No, then
No, I think don't be annoying is a good lesson to take from this episode.
hmm yeah. If you're annoying, then people won't save you when you're dying.
Yeah. I know that's my rule of thumb.
Hmm. So yeah, moving on. I think does is it shown here that Lion also has super speed, or just that he's fast?
I think it could be debated either way. I'd say
Um,
for a he's a pink lion. He's obviously not natural.
yeah, and this is like the part I was going to say earlier. And, like this is probably a better place to bring it up. He's a pink lion
Mm-hmm.
with a magic roar,
Mm-hmm.
possibly magic speed, who's in the desert protecting or guarding over this area of land, or just the actual desert glass, which seems to be gem related.
Mm-hmm.
Do we find out anything? Is he related to the gems, or is he just some kind of superpower from Earth?
He
Was
is
he
real.
affected by the desert glass? Was he something in the desert glass's castle when it still existed? Do we learn more about Lion?
Yes, yes, we do. There are several episodes involving lion coming up. Let's just round out the episode. It ends once Stevens grabbed the glass with the help of the lion. The
Hmm.
things collapse, and the gems let him keep Lion as his magical friend.
Yeah, because basically Lion says that he wants to stay with a little help from Stephen.
Yeah. And then we get a kind of dark joke.
Yeah.
Pearl, are we really going to let him keep that? Got it. We kept Amethyst. Pearl, laughing hysterically.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
oh, kept Amethyst.
enjoys that joke far too much.
Oh, Garnet, that's priceless. And then Stephen makes a lion wink and we get the little star zoom in we get at the end of the episode. Yeah, that's not so much a joke.
That's actually what happened.
Pretty much. They kept Amethyst.
And yeah, that's kind of a weird thing to say when it's true and when it's
Right.
even as a joke. Well, I think maybe when I first heard it, I thought it was funny, but then, thinking about how they treated her in Tiger Millionaire, and that's kind of harsh, man.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine it's meant mainly as foreshadowing, but it's harsh.
Yeah.
Especially Pearl's reaction.
Yeah, I think even if I did find it funny the first time round, Pearl's reaction's a bit over the top, even for me.
Though it's
Even
probably.
even for the Pearl fanboy that I am,
Mhm.
that's too much.
The term is Pearl fag, and you are officially banned from the fandom for being one.
I can accept this.
But this is actually the only time we see Pearl laughing.
Nah, that can't be right.
Up to this point in the series, this is the first time we've seen her really laugh.
Well, it's the first time we've seen her laugh this raucously, but it's not. Can't be the first time that she's laughed.
I can't think of any other example up till now.
Neither can I, but I'm gonna put that down to memory, probably.
Well, I hope to be proven wrong because.
Yeah, because otherwise that just speaks volumes about Pearl that I'd probably rather not know.
What did you think of this?
Another thing which I was going to say about Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Lion doesn't have a gem anywhere on his body,
No, he does not.
which, for all of the monsters we've seen, and for all of the gems we've seen when they're transformed or anything, they all have that gem on them.
Yes, they do.
So it just seems like Lion doesn't have anything to do with the gems, but is still magical.
There is
So
no.
at this point, if I was a betting man, or a more imaginative man, I might come up with some kind of like theory of what I think Lion is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, I just have no clue.
Well, this is his introduction. I'll leave it to you if you want me to explain actually
Now
what he is.
we'll see where Lion comes from, and I'm just like saying that well, my prediction is that he's not to do with the gems, but he's still magic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
So,
want to I want to know more about Lion.
yeah. Well,
Um,
he has some. He's in another 2 or 3 episodes very heavily.
mhm.
So, what did you think of the episode, though?
Overall, it's probably. I said I didn't want to rewatch these for a third time. I think it was probably Steven's Lion that made me want to. That made me think like that. It's pretty good, but I don't know. It's definitely not one of my favorites. I don't know. It just kind of. I know, like you just said, there's no filler in Steven Universe, but it just kind of felt like not much was accomplished or not much was gained. I mean, we've got Lion, and yeah, we need an establishing episode for him, but I don't know. It's just like say comparing it to the establishing episode for Connie. I think there was much more happening, and there was much more stuff, and it was cuter and funner, and this one just kind of seems. I don't know. I just kind of meh with this episode. I'm not sure what to kind of like say that comes from or
Yeah.
where I've drawn that. It's just kind of it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing this episode really lacks compared to Bubble Buddies is the interplay.
It's kind of hard to have interplay between Stephen, who
And his
is
lion.
cute and talks a lot, and Lion, who can't talk.
Yeah. I mean, they try to sort of get around that with Stephen being overly vocal with Lion, which I think is quite cute. And sort of looking at the individual lines, there's some very funny stuff in there,
Yeah.
but there isn't the interplay. It doesn't quite get there. And as we've said, there's some bits of the episode that are just annoying.
Mm.
Like personally, I find the scene with at the pizza house equally annoying.
Yeah. Like the part where you say her name was Kofi?
Kofi and Kiki are the twins.
Kofi and Kiki. Well, the cashier, the one who does front of house, where it's like, oh, a pink lion. You're not lion, are
Mm.
you? And she says that twice, and then she says, oh yeah, sorry for using it twice, but and yeah,
Yeah,
I guess it felt kind of slow, I guess, compared to some of the others, because maybe because you don't have a dynamic of two people talking throughout it, and
yeah, yeah. I can agree with you on that one. I'd say this is one of the weakest episodes thus far. The characters simply aren't there. While this does kind of set up Stephen's sort of over involvement with animals, if you will, sort of he's always very talkative to animals. A few times that appears, but otherwise, no, this episode kind of falls flat for me, which is a shame because Steve Lion is a very interesting character. He's in some of the better action scenes later on. Yeah, guess that's everything.
okay.
So lead us out.
So yes, we've been Dan and Keir. This has been our Steven Universe rewatch podcast. Good night from me and a good night from him.
Good night.